You think you need people to feel stable, but you were never created to depend on anyone except Allah. Late at night, you feel it the most. The urge to check your phone. The quiet disappointment when no one reaches out. The subtle fear that if they leave, you will collapse. You call it love. You call it connection. But deep down, you are afraid of being without them. You measure your peace by their response time. You measure your value by their attention. When they are warm, you feel secure. When they are distant, your chest tightens, your mood shifts, your thoughts spiral. And you tell yourself, this is normal. But ask yourself honestly, why does your stability disappear when a human being changes? It is because your heart has quietly attached its safety to something unstable. Anything that can leave you was never meant to be your foundation. People are beautiful. They are gifts. They are companions in your journey. But they are not anchors. They are not saviors. They are not the source of your worth. They get tired. They get distracted. They misunderstand. They struggle with their own fears and wounds. They are limited. And you are expecting unlimited security from limited beings. That is why you feel drained. That is why you overthink. That is why you panic at silence. Because your heart is leaning on something that was never built to carry it. Allah is not like that. He does not fluctuate in affection. He does not forget you when he becomes busy. He does not grow cold. He does not wake up and decide you are no longer important. His knowledge of you is constant. His awareness of you is complete. His care for you is not dependent on your performance or your perfection. When your heart leans on him, it rests on something unshakable. This does not mean you stop loving people. It means you stop expecting them to be your emotional oxygen. You love them as gifts, but you depend on Allah as your foundation. And if your heart was designed to lean on the eternal, why are you exhausting it, leaning on what was always meant to be temporary? You think if you manage people correctly, they will stay. So you become careful. You adjust your tone. You soften your opinions. You hide the parts of you that might feel too much. You try to be agreeable, low maintenance, easy to keep. You believe that if you are valuable enough, kind enough, understanding enough, they will never walk away. But look at what this is doing to you. You are constantly calculating, constantly monitoring, constantly performing, and you call this love. In reality, it is fear. You are afraid that if you stop managing their perception of you, they will leave. You are afraid that if you show your full self, you will be rejected. So you carry the burden of controlling something that was never in your control to begin with. The hearts of people are not in your hands. They are in the hands of Allah. No amount of perfection can force someone to stay if Allah has written their exit. No amount of mistakes can push someone away if Allah has written their presence. Yet you exhaust yourself trying to control what only He controls. That is why anxiety follows you. You check your phone not because you are curious, but because you are seeking reassurance. You replay conversations not because you enjoy it, but because you are searching for certainty. But certainty does not come from people. It comes from Tawakkul. When you finally accept that the one who turns hearts is Allah, something shifts inside you. You stop trying to secure what is already written. You stop fighting for guarantees that were never promised. You still care. You still love. You still make effort, but you release the outcome. And when you release the outcome to Allah, the pressure that was crushing your chest begins to lift. If who stays and who leaves is already in His control, why are you torturing yourself trying to manage it alone? You thought the distance meant you were losing them, but maybe Allah was removing your dependence before removing the person. At first, you noticed small changes. You were not as desperate for replies. You did not feel the same panic at silence. You stopped needing constant reassurance to feel secure. It confused you. You wondered, why don't I feel the same intensity anymore? You thought something was dying, but something was maturing. When Allah wants to elevate your heart, He purifies it from unhealthy reliance. He slowly detaches you from needing validation to survive emotionally. He teaches you how to stand without leaning. This process can feel uncomfortable because dependence feels like closeness. Intensity feels like love, but real strength feels quieter. You begin to love without obsession. You begin to care without fear. You begin to give without secretly begging to be chosen. And this is dignity. Allah does not want your heart enslaved to creation. He wants it anchored to Him. So sometimes He weakens your emotional dependence so you can discover a deeper source of security. You stop panicking when someone pulls away. You stop collapsing when someone misunderstands you. You stop feeling worthless when someone chooses differently. Not because you became cold, but because you became anchored. This is what happens when your reliance shifts from people to Allah. Your emotional stability is no longer hanging by the thread of someone's behavior. It is rooted in something eternal. And if Allah is teaching you how to stand without leaning on people, what kind of inner strength is He preparing you for next? You think attachment is proof that you care deeply, but attachment that controls your peace is not love. It is dependence. Look closely at your reactions. When their mood changes, your entire day changes. When they delay replying, your mind starts building stories. When they praise you, you feel alive. When they criticize you, you feel small. This is not emotional balance. This is emotional captivity. If someone's behavior has the power to raise and destroy your inner state so easily, then your stability is not rooted, it is hanging. You may not see it as slavery, but when your happiness depends on someone's consistency, you are no longer free. You wake up measuring signals. You sleep replaying conversations. You constantly scan for signs of reassurance. Your heart becomes hyper-alert, and you tell yourself, this is passion, but passion that steals your peace is not strength. It is attachment without anchor. Freedom does not mean pushing people away. It does not mean becoming cold or distant. It does not mean pretending you do not care. Freedom means this: you can love someone deeply and still remain steady if they change. You can appreciate someone and still remain whole if they leave. You can give your heart without placing your identity in their hands. When your center is Allah, people orbit your life, they do not become your axis. And that changes everything. Because when your axis is human, your world shakes every time they move. But when your axis is divine, even storms feel different. If your emotional state rises and falls with people, who is truly controlling your peace? There comes a moment when you get tired of chasing reassurance, tired of seeking validation, tired of expecting someone to fill the quiet spaces inside you, and slowly, something inside you begins to surrender. You stop asking them to understand every part of your soul. You stop demanding guarantees from fragile hearts. You stop expecting perfection from imperfect beings. And something unexpected happens. You feel lighter, not because people suddenly become better, but because you stopped placing divine expectations on human shoulders. You realize that no person, no matter how loving, can be your constant. They will have bad days. They will misunderstand you. They will fail you sometimes. And when you stop expecting them to be flawless, you stop resenting them for being human. You begin turning your expectations toward Allah instead. You start speaking to Him more honestly. You begin placing your fears in His hands. You start seeking comfort in prayer before seeking it in messages, and a quiet richness enters your chest. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is a steady calm that does not depend on notifications. You still love people. You still enjoy companionship. But you are no longer begging emotionally. You are no longer starving for attention. You stand before Allah and say, "You are enough for me." And when those words move from your lips into your heart, Peace begins to settle in places that were once restless. Because when Allah becomes your sufficiency, people become blessings, not lifelines. And if Allah is truly enough for you, what exactly are you still chasing from people? Dependence does not look dangerous. It feels soft, emotional, romantic, deep, but it is one of the most subtle forms of slavery. When your happiness depends on someone's attention, your heart has bowed. When your sense of worth rises and falls with their words, your heart has attached itself to something fragile. And fragile things break. You may say, I just love deeply. But loving deeply and depending completely are not the same thing. Love gives. Dependence clings. Love is strong. Dependence is afraid. When you depend on someone emotionally, you begin to fear their absence more than you value your stability. You start compromising your standards just to keep them. You silence your needs so they do not feel pressured. You tolerate behavior that disturbs your peace because losing them feels worse than losing yourself. And slowly, without realizing it, you shrink. Not because they forced you, but because you handed them control over your emotional center. Your heart was created to bow only to Allah, not to approval, not to attention, not to someone choosing you. When your heart bows to creation, it becomes restless, because deep inside, it knows it is in the wrong position. Loving people is not the problem. Expecting them to be your savior is. You can love someone and still understand that they are human. You can cherish someone and still know they cannot complete you. You can enjoy companionship and still remain emotionally anchored in Allah. When you see people as gifts, you appreciate them. When you see them as guarantees, you fear losing them. That fear is what enslaves you. But when your security is with Allah, everything changes. You give without desperation. You care without anxiety. You stay without clinging. And if they leave, it hurts, but it does not destroy you. Because your foundation was never them. It was always Him. You stop expecting people to heal wounds only Allah can heal. You stop resenting them for not being perfect. You stop collapsing when they act human. And a deeper strength forms inside you. You become someone who loves freely but stands firmly. Someone who connects deeply but remains centered. Someone who values people without worshipping their presence. And when your heart belongs fully to Allah, you discover something powerful. No human being has the authority to destabilize your peace. If your security is anchored in the eternal, what temporary loss can truly shake you? There is a calm that only comes when you finally accept that Allah is enough. Not enough in theory. Not enough as a phrase you repeat, but enough in the deepest layer of your heart. You do not reach this place quickly. You reach it after disappointment, after attachment, after nights of overthinking, after expecting too much from people who were never meant to carry what you placed on them. You reach it when you are tired. Tired of checking who stayed. Tired of fearing who might leave. Tired of measuring your worth by someone's consistency. And in that exhaustion, something inside you breaks. But what breaks is not your strength. It is your illusion. The illusion that someone else is responsible for your emotional stability. The illusion that another human being can secure your heart. The illusion that peace lives in someone's presence. When that illusion shatters, it feels scary at first, because you are no longer leaning the way you used to. There is space. There is quiet. There is less emotional noise. And you wonder if you are becoming cold. But you are not becoming cold. You are becoming anchored. There is a difference between detachment from people and attachment to Allah. The first one makes you distant. The second one makes you stable. When your heart understands that Allah is enough, something shifts in how you experience everything. Loneliness feels different. It no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like privacy with your Lord. Silence feels different. It no longer feels like rejection. It feels like room to breathe without performance. Even loss feels different. It hurts, but it does not dismantle you, because your center is no longer outside of you. It is rooted in your relationship with Allah. You stop panicking when someone changes. You stop collapsing when someone misunderstands you. You stop chasing reassurance like it is oxygen, because you know who your real source is. This does not mean you stop caring. You still love. You still invest. You still build relationships. But your heart is not trembling underneath it all. You are no longer loving from desperation. You are loving from fullness. And that changes everything. When someone praises you, you appreciate it, but you are not inflated. When someone criticizes you, you reflect, but you are not shattered. When someone stays, you are grateful, but not dependent. When someone leaves, you are hurt, but not destroyed. Why? Because your foundation is not moving. Your foundation is Allah, and Allah does not move. This is the stillness few people understand. It is not loud happiness. It is not constant excitement. It is a quiet certainty that sits in your chest. A certainty that says, what is written for you cannot miss you. What misses you was never written for you. And the one who wrote your story is wiser than your attachment. When you truly accept that Allah is enough, comparison weakens. You stop envying who someone else chose. You stop competing for attention. You stop asking, why was I not enough? Because you realize something powerful. If someone does not choose you, it is not a statement about your value. It is a statement about divine alignment. And divine alignment is above personal preference. You begin to see people differently. You see them as travelers, not owners of your peace. You enjoy their company without handing them your emotional control. You share your heart without surrendering your center. You are present, but you are not possessed, and there is strength in that. A heart anchored in Allah does not need constant reassurance. It finds reassurance in prayer. It finds validation in obedience. It finds identity in servitude to the Creator, not approval from creation. This is the untouchable calm. It is not arrogance. It is not pride. It is surrender. You finally understand that no human being was ever meant to complete you. You were created complete in your servitude to Allah. People complement your life. They do not define it. And when that truth settles into your heart, fear begins to lose its grip. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of being alone. Because you are never alone. The one who created hearts is closer to you than anyone you are afraid of losing. And when that awareness becomes real, not just intellectual but emotional, you walk differently. You speak differently. You attach differently. You rest differently. Your nights are quieter. Your mind is softer. Your chest is lighter. Not because life became perfect, but because your dependence changed direction. You stopped depending horizontally. You started depending vertically. And when your reliance is vertical, the horizontal fluctuations of life lose their power to destabilize you. People may misunderstand you. They may leave. They may choose differently. They may fail you. But your center does not collapse. Because your center is not them. It is Allah. And when Allah becomes your emotional foundation, you discover something that cannot be taken from you. Inner sufficiency. A heart that knows, if the entire world turned away, the one who controls the world is still with you. If every door closed, the one who owns all doors remains. If every human failed you, the one who never fails is still sustaining you. That is the peace Allah gives when you stop depending on people. Not isolation, not coldness, not indifference, but anchored love, steady faith, unshakable calm. And if the Creator of every heart is enough for you, what exactly are you still afraid of losing tonight?